I always thought my life was predictable, not in a bad way, just steady. I had a good job in IT, a comfortable home, and a wife I believed I knew inside and out. We had been together for 7 years, married for 5. Our relationship had settled into a routine: coffee in the morning, quick kisses before work, and quiet dinners in front of the TV. Nothing dramatic, nothing out of place. Looking back, maybe that was the problem. Everything had become so routine that I never stopped to question if my wife, Lisa, felt the same way. I assumed she did. We weren't the overly passionate type, but we had a bond, a history. Or at least, I thought we did. She worked in marketing, a job that had her traveling a few times a month. It never raised a red flag. That was just Lisa, always on the move, always chasing the next big opportunity. I admired her drive. She was confident, independent, the kind of woman who could light up a room without even trying. And I was the guy who kept things steady at home. I should have noticed the little things. The way she sometimes seemed distant, the way she'd check her phone and smile to herself. The times she came home from a trip and smelled like a cologne I didn't wear. But I trusted her. That's what marriage was built on, right? One night, we were sitting on the couch, both scrolling through our phones in comfortable silence. She got a message, and for a split second, I saw a name flash across the screen. David. She turned her phone over casually like it was nothing. And maybe it was. But something about that moment stuck with me. I didn't ask. I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid husband who questioned every little thing. So I let it go. That was my first mistake. I met her at a conference in Chicago. It wasn't anything dramatic, no slow-motion eye contact across a crowded room, no instant, life-altering connection. Just 2 professionals making small talk over stale coffee in a hotel lobby. Her name was Natalie. She worked in consulting, sharp and articulate, with a confidence that was both intimidating and effortless. She had this way of listening, really listening, like every word you said actually mattered. It had been a long time since someone looked at me like that. Lisa and I didn't have those kinds of conversations anymore. We talked, sure, about bills, groceries, weekend plans, but nothing deep, nothing that made my heart race or my mind spin. With Natalie, it was different. She asked questions no one else asked. She wanted to know what I wanted out of life, what scared me, what excited me. I told myself it was just harmless conversation, a connection between 2 people who happened to enjoy each other's company. That's all. That night, a group of us went out for drinks. The bar was dimly lit, a jazz band playing softly in the background. Natalie sat next to me, her knee brushing against mine, and I didn't move away. We laughed, really laughed, about work, about life, about how ridiculous corporate culture could be. Every now and then, she'd touch my arm lightly when she spoke, and each time a small electric thrill shot through me. At one point, she leaned in closer, her voice just above a whisper. You ever feel like you're just going through the motions? I felt my stomach tighten, because yes, I did, and I hated admitting it, even to myself. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I took a sip of my drink, buying time. Then, finally, I nodded. Yeah, I said, all the time. We stayed out longer than we should have. When it was time to head back to our rooms, we walked together down the long hotel hallway, the air between us thick with something unspoken. She stopped in front of her door and turned to face me. This was nice, she said. I swallowed hard. Yeah, it was. A pause, a hesitation. Then she smiled, a slow, knowing smile, and disappeared into her room. I should have gone straight to mine, but instead, I stood there for a long moment, staring at her closed door, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Alive. The next day, I told myself nothing had happened, and technically, that was true, but something had shifted. At lunch, we sat together again. When she laughed, she touched my hand lightly, her fingers lingering for just a second too long. I told myself it meant nothing, that she was just friendly, warm, the kind of person who made everyone feel special. But deep down, I knew better. By the time the conference ended, we had exchanged numbers. Strictly professional, I told myself. A good networking connection. That was the second lie I told myself. Back home, everything felt different. Lisa greeted me at the door with a quick kiss, asking how the trip went. I gave the usual answers. Good, productive, tiring. But my mind was elsewhere. I started texting Natalie. At first, it was harmless. Work-related jokes, funny memes, little comments about our daily lives. But soon, the messages became longer, more personal. Late one night, after Lisa had fallen asleep, my phone buzzed. Natalie. Can't sleep. Wish I had someone to talk to. My heart pounded. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Me. I'm here. And just like that, the line blurred. The first real mistake happened a month later. Lisa was on one of her business trips, and Natalie had a last-minute meeting in my city. She suggested we grab dinner. Just dinner. That's what I told myself. We met at a quiet little restaurant downtown. Candlelight flickered between us, casting shadows on the table. She looked beautiful, her dark hair falling over one shoulder, her lips curling into a small smile every time our eyes met. This feels dangerous, she admitted, swirling the wine in her glass. I exhaled sharply, running a hand through my hair. It's just dinner. She tilted her head, studying me. Is it? I didn't answer. After dinner, we walked outside, the night air crisp and cool. We stopped at a crosswalk, the red light blinking. I felt her shift closer, her body just inches from mine. I should go, she said softly. I nodded. Yeah. Neither of us moved. Then, in one reckless, thoughtless moment, I turned to her. She looked up at me, her breath hitching, and before I could stop myself, my lips were on hers. The kiss was soft, slow, and full of something I hadn't let myself feel in years. When we finally pulled away, she exhaled shakily. We can't do this. I swallowed hard. I know. But we both knew that was another lie. For months, I had been living a double life, balancing on a knife's edge between exhilaration and guilt. Lisa was still traveling for work, and every time she left, I fell deeper into Natalie, the secrecy, the stolen weekends, the whispered calls in the middle of the night. It became intoxicating, like a drug I couldn't quit. But deep down, I knew it couldn't last. I just didn't expect it to come crashing down the way it did. It happened on a Tuesday. Lisa had been gone for 3 days, and Natalie was staying over at my place for the first time. We had been careful, hotels, discreet meetups, never leaving a trace, but that night, in the safety of my own home, I let my guard down. We ordered takeout, curled up on the couch, and for the first time, I let myself pretend that this was my real life, that I wasn't married, that I wasn't living a lie. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Lisa. I didn't pick up. Instead, I flipped the phone over and turned back to Natalie, running my fingers through her hair. She smiled, pressing a kiss to my jaw. That was when I heard it. The front door unlocking. My stomach dropped. Lisa wasn't supposed to be back until Thursday. The door swung open, and there she was. Her eyes flicked from me to Natalie, who was still tangled up in my arms, completely unaware of what was happening. The look on Lisa's face. Confusion. Then realization. Then pure devastation. It hit me like a freight train. For a second, no one moved. Then Natalie turned, saw Lisa, and scrambled off the couch like she had been burned. Lisa let out a sharp breath, her hands shaking. Are you kidding me? My throat went dry. Lisa, don't. Her voice wavered, but her eyes burned with fury. Don't you dare. Natalie stood there frozen, wide-eyed, clutching the blanket around her shoulders like it could somehow make her invisible. I didn't know. Lisa let out a hollow laugh. You didn't know? You didn't know he was married? She turned to me, her face crumbling. Or did you lie to her too? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Lisa inhaled sharply, her chest rising and falling like she was trying to keep herself from completely breaking down. Then without another word, she turned and stormed out. I chased after her. Lisa, wait. She spun around so fast I almost ran into her. Wait? For what? For you to come up with some pathetic excuse? To tell me it didn't mean anything? Her voice cracked. God, I was so stupid. I swallowed the lump in my throat. It wasn't like that. Oh, really? She let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like that. Tears welled in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. How long? I hesitated. That was my mistake. She scoffed. Jesus Christ, months, wasn't it? I dropped my gaze. Lisa, please. Don't. Her voice was quieter now, but somehow even more painful. You don't get to say my name like that. Her breath hitched. You don't get to ask me for anything. A car passed by, its headlights flashing over us. Lisa wiped her eyes quickly, like she didn't want me to see her cry. I gave you everything, she whispered. I trusted you. And then, just like that, she walked away. I wanted to stop her, to say something that would make it right. But there was nothing. Because this wasn't some misunderstanding. I had destroyed us. and there was no coming back from it. The aftermath. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Lisa was gone. She had packed a bag that night and left without another word. I tried calling her, texting her, but she didn't respond. At first, I told myself she just needed time, that she'd come back once the anger cooled, once she could hear me out. But deep down, I knew better. She wasn't coming back. The next morning, I woke up alone in our bed, the sheets cold where she used to sleep. It was like a ghost of our life together lingered in every corner of the house. Her toothbrush was gone from the bathroom. Her favorite coffee mug was missing from the cabinet. But the scent of her perfume still clung to the pillows, and that was somehow worse. I called her again, straight to voicemail. Then I called her sister. Megan picked up, her voice sharp and unforgiving. "She doesn't want to talk to you. You need to leave her alone." I swallowed hard. My throat felt tight. "I need to explain." Megan let out a bitter laugh. "Explain? Explain what exactly?" Her voice dripped with anger. "That you threw away 7 years for some random woman? It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" she snapped. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you shattered my sister and didn't even have the decency to admit it when she asked." I had no answer. Silence. Megan sighed. Her tone softened, but only just slightly. "She's staying with me for now, but she doesn't want to see you." A pause. "And honestly, I don't think she ever will." The line went dead. I sank onto the couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of what I had done pressing down on me. The weight of regret days passed in a blur. Work didn't matter. Food had no taste. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lisa's face, her pain, her anger. The moment she realized everything we had built was a lie. I thought about the life we had, the lazy Sunday mornings, the inside jokes, the way she always fell asleep with her foot tucked under my leg. Gone, all of it, because of me. Natalie called once. I let it ring. Then I blocked her number. It wasn't her fault. Not really. But whatever we had, it wasn't real. It had never been real. Just an escape, a fantasy I let consume me. And in the end, it had cost me everything. One night, out of pure desperation, I drove to Megan's house. I sat outside for nearly an hour, staring at the door, rehearsing what I would say. But I never knocked. What would be the point? Lisa had made her decision, and for the first time, I had to live with mine. The divorce weeks turned into months. Lisa filed for divorce. It was clean, efficient, no drawn-out fights, no screaming matches, just paperwork and signatures, and the quiet finality of two people who had once promised forever, walking away from each other. I wanted to ask if she ever missed me, if she ever thought about what we had before I ruined it. But I never did, because I already knew the answer, and I didn't deserve to hear it. For a long time, I told myself I'd fix it, that I'd find a way to make it right, to prove to Lisa that I wasn't the man she saw that night. But the truth was, I was that man. I had spent months, maybe years, justifying the choices that led me here, telling myself I wasn't happy, that I deserved more, that what I was doing wasn't really cheating until it crossed some invisible line. But betrayal doesn't start with a kiss, or a night in a hotel. It starts with the smallest of lies, the ones we tell ourselves, long before we tell them to anyone else. I lost Lisa because of those lies, and there was no fixing that. Life after her. After the divorce, I stayed in the house for a while. At first, I thought I could handle it, but every room was haunted by memories, our life together, the moments I had taken for granted, the way she used to hum when she cooked, the stacks of books she left by the bedside, half read, never forgotten, the way her laughter used to fill up the silence. It was unbearable. 6 months later, I sold the house, moved into a small apartment across town. No shared history, no reminders, just empty walls, and the dull ache of knowing that this was my new reality. I tried dating again after a while. Nothing serious, just coffee dates, casual conversations. But something had changed. Before, I had searched for something more, something new, something exciting. Now, I just found myself comparing everyone to Lisa, and none of them measured up. I don't know where she is now. I stopped asking. Megan made it clear. Lisa had moved on. She was happy, and that was all I needed to know. She deserved that. And I deserved exactly what I got. No second chances. People like to believe in second chances, in redemption, that if you regret something enough, if you feel the weight of your mistakes deeply enough, you can somehow undo them. But that's not how life works. Some mistakes don't get rewritten. Some betrayals don't get forgiven. I used to think love was enough, that no matter what, Lisa and I would always find our way back to each other. Now I know better. Love isn't just about feelings. It's about choices, the small ones, the big ones, the ones that seem insignificant, until they're not. And in the end, I made mine, and I lost everything because of it.